The whole situation in the Middle East continues to escalate. We have breaking intelligence about the latest developments that are happening, the latest impacts on the financial markets, what Trump has been talking about because his decision making seems to be changing by the day. And where does this all go next? We're going to talk about all of it in today's video. So the price of oil, the price of commodities, gold, silver, the markets have been very volatile recently. And then we'll talk also whether Trump's plan to potentially have boots on the ground is going to become a reality or not. We'll break that down at the end of the video because this conflict, it seems to get crazier by the day. And if you enjoy the content, you get value out of this, just like the video, and let's get straight into it. So the breaking story in the last 24 hours is we have seen major escalations come in, and this has been in the form of elevated strikes that have now targeted Iran's domestic gas. Okay, so there has been a major attack against the critical energy infrastructure of Iran. So South Pars, which supplies 70% of Iran's domestic gas and a major share of fuel for power plants, has been hit. Iran's electricity generation is directly at risk since power plants rely heavily on this gas supply. If gas flow drops, power plants cannot generate electricity, leading to nationwide electricity disruption. Gold is down 2% in the last 3 hours, wiping out 680 billion. Silver is down 2.5%, erasing 110 billion. Bitcoin is down 2.7%, wiping 38 billion. And oil is above $97 after this news. So right here, you can see the photo of this. Obviously, it's very advanced engineering. It's a very advanced plant. And, this situation continues to escalate. And as a result of this escalation right here, which has come out of Israel, these attacks, Iran has fought back and they have come up with retaliations. You can see in the background right here, an official spokesperson of the Iranian government saying a red line has been crossed. People have attacked the energy infrastructure in the country and they're going to retaliate. And they've already started to retaliate. And this is how quickly this, breaking intelligence can happen in the market. So the Iranians said they're going to retaliate and they're going to set ablaze and reduce US-Israeli energy infrastructure to ashes. And as part of that retaliation, you can see right here, the largest LNG hub, Ras Laffan in Qatar, has been hit by missile strikes. Qatar Energy has confirmed extensive damage and fires at the facility that provide 20% of the world's natural gas. The attacks come just hours after an Israeli strike on Iran's South Pars field, with Tehran officially declaring Gulf energy centers legitimate targets and ordering immediate evacuation of all personnel. So that's coming out of an official source right there. And this is all, escalating. So it is escalating. It's escalating. The market is reacting accordingly. And we are seeing that super scared effect play out in the financial markets that we have been discussing on the channel. So unfortunately, when the markets are ultra scared, which they are right now, there's actually been a sell-off on gold and silver, other types of assets. The S&P 500 is down. The Dow Jones dropped 1.6% on this news. Now, as this whole situation has unfolded on the financial markets and in the Middle East, more erratic tweets are coming out of Trump. So you can see right here, this one actually, it hurt my brain trying to understand what he meant first, but I'll give you the take right here. But Trump says, I wonder what would happen if we finished off what's left on the Iranian terror state and let the countries that use it, we don't, be responsible for the so-called strait. That would get some of our non-responsive allies in gear and fast, President DJT. So Ocean Technical says this is Trump floating the idea of the US abandoning the Strait of Hormuz. But you guys on this channel, look, if you've been subscribed to this channel, you've been listening in very carefully to the intelligence we've been sharing right here. The thing about this tweet from Trump is the Iranians have already told us that the people, if you're not the US or you're not Israel or you're not part of, these attacks against Iran, you have actually nothing to worry about. So remember, the Iranians have taken away the incentive of countries like France, countries like China, countries like Japan, Australia to actually intervene in this, because what the Iranians are saying is if the US left the region, the Strait of Hormuz actually opens back up and there's actually no issues with this whole thing at all. So that's one of the things, that people, I'm not sure if they fully understand that. And Trump, I'm not sure if he's trying to keep people in the dark or they don't understand that as well. It's really just the US at the moment that has penalized Israel as well. And also, whoever is really, joining in these attacks against Iran. So that's my own independent analysis. Again, feel free to have your own opinion about that matter, but that's interesting. And we've also had, some interesting comments from French generals actually coming out. This French general right here says joining in on the attack on the Strait of Hormuz is like buying a ticket for the Titanic after hitting the iceberg. So no one really wants to join in on this at the moment. And you also have updates officially from the French president right here. And he says France will never join operations to secure the Strait of Hormuz. We are not party to the conflict. So what you're seeing is many countries that are not part of this, they haven't, been involved in these attacks in the Middle East. They don't actually want to join in. And we also have that intel from the Iranians that they're not going to actually penalize people who are not part of this whole conflict. So really, it's Trump. What Trump does next is what we need to pay attention to, and we have to just weather the storm with the retaliation from the Iranians right now. Now, as a result of all this, what has been skyrocketing has been the oil. So remember, as this conflict drags on, as the bottleneck through the Strait of Hormuz drags on, as the uncertainty around what Trump actually does next, whether he deploys troops, and we'll talk about those options later in the video, what's happening is the oil prices are going up. So we're seeing record oil prices in Japan. We're seeing record divergence as well. So if you see this from the Kobayashi letter, there is a historic divergence of oil prices across the regions. Oman crude prices are up to $154 per barrel, crossing $150 for the first time ever. At the same time, Dubai crude is up to $130 by a barrel, while Brent is trading at $102 per barrel and WTI at 93. In other words, the gap between Oman and US prices now stands at 65% or $61 per barrel. By comparison, before the Iran war, the difference between all these benchmarks was just $5. Brent and WTI are priced based on US and European supply conditions, while the actual disruption is concentrated in the Middle East, meaning that they do not fully capture the severity of the physical shortage yet. If the strait does not reopen, this divergence will narrow as Brent and WTI will ultimately reprice higher. Once US and European oil reserves are depleted, the global oil market cannot sustain prolonged Middle East disruption. So the major question on everyone's mind is what actually happens, right? What happens? How long does this conflict even go to? You can see right here Jerome Powell coming out. Interest rates are on hold because everything is kind of going up. And Jerome Powell says there is a rising energy price from US-Israeli war with Iran that's going to drive inflation higher. So none of this stuff, these oil prices going up, this whole conflict, this is economic destruction. This is literally economic destruction. That's what's happening in the world economy at the moment. As we actually, see this go up, the oil prices go up, and we're seeing that data come in on the graph right here, this spiking of the oil prices. People want to know what the next moves are, and this is the latest intel. So we do have potential for boots on the ground. So this might be something Trump does, right? And so you can see right here from Mario, the ground troop conversation just got very real. The Trump administration is actively discussing deploying thousands of US troops to the Middle East with 3 possible missions: securing the Strait of Hormuz, including potentially landing forces on Iran's coastline, seizing Karg Island, and sending special forces to secure Iran's enriched uranium. No decisions have been made yet. And actually, let's listen in to some analysis that has also come in. So that source is actually coming out of Reuters, boots on the ground of the next phase. But also, if we have a look right here, let's listen into Mario and Dimitri analyzing, the potential logistical nightmare of a US ground invasion in the region. So let's listen in. I'll give you guys my take right here.
When we discussed the wars, freaking boots on the ground. Like, holy shit. What do you make of it, man?
It would be a suicide mission. I mean, you don't have to be a military expert to understand that this is a logistical nightmare for the U.S. military. They're going to put, even if they put 100,000 men on that island, whatever the number may be, how are they going to supply them? How are they going to dig in? How are they going to defend themselves from the constant wave after wave of drones coming down upon their heads? Or the artillery, they're within artillery range. They could be wiped out by, a few short-range rockets, heavy warhead rockets fired from the mainland. So this is just a suicide mission. I don't think that the U.S. military is stupid enough to pull this stunt off. But given what we've seen thus far, Mario, I don't think we can exclude any possibility. We are in dangerous territory right now because, as I say, the negotiating positions of the parties are miles apart. There's no overlap between them, and both of them regard this as existential. So I can only see one way forward as a practical matter, and I hope that I'm wrong, and that is serious escalation with catastrophic consequences to the global economy.
People are even talking about Israel using a tactical nuke if it gets to it, if Iran continues pummeling them. I can't believe we're talking about that. We were talking about it in Ukraine, now we're talking about it in 2 regions.
So some pretty dire analysis coming out right there from Dimitri. And, I think a lot of what he actually says makes sense. To really kind of bring home the point, I mean, this is the Strait of Hormuz right here. You have Karg Island, which is this island super close to the Iranian mainland. And the issue with this conflict that the US is facing at the moment is Iran has missiles, right? It has ballistic missiles, it has drones. A lot of the anti-air defense and the systems, the radars, have been destroyed during this conflict already. And they've been destroyed in heavily fortified areas in other countries right here. And the thing is, it does seem to me, again, anything's possible though. I'll just say it's possible. Trump's decision making is very erratic at the moment. But what I will say is, this is going to be hard to defend. So even if you were to land a bunch of troops on here, I mean, how do you defend against the missiles? How do you defend against the drones? What system, what anti-air system are you going to have set up on this island? Not much. And the same other deal goes for, around the Strait of Hormuz. So even if, this area gets captured, how do you defend against the missiles and the drones? That's the big question. Is it possible? Is the French general correct in him saying earlier that this is like buying a ticket for the Titanic as it sinks? Is that the correct analysis of the situation? But one thing that is certain, and that is uncertainty with Donald Trump right now. So there is, erratic decision making. It's dramatic. Things are not under control. You're seeing escalations just happen with this whole destruction of the LNG and the gas fields right here, obviously getting worse and worse. And you can see the financial markets are just freaking out because of this. So as we spoke about yesterday, I still think, some commodities out there, food is going to do well, coffee is going to do well, beef is going to do well. There's going to be some things people are going to continue to buy regardless of war or not war, those essentials out there. And what we are seeing though is financial markets, they're shaky, right? Dow Jones is down, S&P 500 is down, gold is down, silver down, crypto down. There is no safe haven in many assets out there at the moment. As you can see, the DXY really spiking in the last 24 hours. So off that news, you can see money just pouring in. So it went up nearly a point right there, but really spiking in the last 24 hours as this dramatic escalations have come through in the market. And the most important question is, does this situation escalate? How long does it go for? Because remember, the longer this thing goes for, the worse it's going to get, right? The worse the whole situation gets as that oil starts to stop. I've seen data out there, news articles getting published about some countries even stopping transport on some days to try and conserve fuel. So absolutely massive update for today. And if you want the next intelligence update where we break down, geopolitical events like we're doing at the moment, giving you guys the fresh, important intel, and also the reaction from the financial markets and where the money's going, guys, subscribe to the channel. Hope you guys are getting value out of this. I do try and bring you extremely valuable updates that you can trust. And that's today's update in the market, but I appreciate you guys tuning in. Go have a great day. I'll see you in the next one.